اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا الشمس كورت وإذا النجوم انكدرت وإذا الجبال سيرت وإذا العشار عطلت وإذا الوحوش حشرت وإذا البحار سجرت وإذا النفوس زوجت وإذا الموءودة سئلت بأي ذنب قتلت وإذا الصحف نشرت وإذا السماء كشطت وإذا الجحيم سعرت وإذا الجنة أزلفت علمت نفس ما أحضرت فلا أقسم بالخنس الجوار الكنس والليل إذا عسعس والصبح إذا تنفس إنه لقول رسول كريم ذي قوة عند ذي العرش المكين مطاع ثم أمين وما صاحبكم بمجنون ولقد رآه بالأفق المبين وما هو على الغيب بضنين وما هو بقول شيطان رجيم فأين تذهبون إن هو إلا ذكر للعالمين لمن شاء منكم أن يستقيم وما تشاءون إلا أن يشاء الله رب العالمين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. زيارة سيدة زينب سلام الله عليها. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام على آدم صفوة الله، السلام على نوح النبي الله، السلام على إبراهيم خليل الله، السلام على موسى كليم الله، السلام على عيسى روح الله، السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا خير خلق الله، السلام عليك يا سفي الله، السلام عليك يا محمد بن عبد الله خاتم النبيين، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب وصي رسول الله، السلام عليك يا فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليكما يا سبتي النبي الرحمة وسيدي شباب أهل الجنة، السلام عليك يا علي بن الحسين سيد العابدين وقرة عين الناظرين، السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي الباقر الباقر علم النبيين، السلام عليك يا جعفر بن محمد الصادق البار الأمين، السلام عليك يا موسى بن جعفر الطاهر الطهر، السلام عليك يا علي بن موسى الرضا المرتضى، السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي التقي، السلام عليك يا علي بن محمد النقي الناصح الأمين الناصح الأمين، السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي، السلام على الوصي من بعده، اللهم صل على نورك وسراجك وليك وصيك وحجتك على خلقك، السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله، السلام عليك يا بنت فاطمة وخديجة، السلام عليك يا بنت أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا أخت الحسن والحسين، السلام عليك يا بنت ولي الله، السلام عليك يا أخت ولي الله، السلام عليك يا عمة ولي الله ورحمة الله وبركاته، السلام عليك، عرف الله بيننا وبينكم في الجنة وحشرنا في زمرتكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الصلوات على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بفضل الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله والحمد حقه كما يستحقه حمدا كثيرا الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله اللهم لعنهم جميعا ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلق الله أجمعين محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين. Tonight we are gathered to commemorate the martyrdom and the passing of Sayeda Zainab salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayha. And as we are entering now the final night of the white nights of Rajab, which are nights of vigilance and worship, and days are days of fasting and days of worship likewise. Obviously for those that are righteous and those that undertake these actions and those that are fortunate to be performing the acts of worship on these days, we ask them to remember us and all the believing brothers and sisters in their supplication. Human beings are essentially social, or I should say were social. Not really in today's day, as interactions have become less. But however, humans need to be noticed, humans need to be accepted, and humans need to turn to each other is still existent. And especially today, the problem is we are encouraged to turn to others and to cry our hearts out. People aren't being encouraged today to be able to withstand hardships and to be able to withstand problems. And the thing is, obviously I'm not supposed to keep it within, but the question is, if I have a problem, what should I do? Now, if you're about to go tell someone a problem, that you have a complaint of a problem, one of the worst things you can do is to complain to somebody that's in the same boat. Why? Because it becomes like the blind leading the blind. You complain to someone that's in the same boat as you, it's not going to be of any benefit. Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Qur'an, وَإِنْ يَمْسَسْكَ اللَّهُ بِضُرٍّ, that He says that if you've been afflicted, if Allah has afflicted you with something. And when we say أَمْسَسْكَ اللَّهُ بِضُرٍّ, all afflictions are from Allah, meaning what? Means Allah is the one that allows afflictions to take place. When we say Allah does this, it means Allah allows it to take place. If Allah doesn't want the affliction to take place, come hell or high water, it will not take place. So the verse says, وَإِنْ يَمْسَسْكَ اللَّهُ بِضُرٍّ فَلَا كَاشِفَ لَهُ. There is no one that will take this affliction away, إِلَّا هُ, except Allah. Allah Azza wa Jal is the only one that could remove this affliction. And therefore, If I'm afflicted, who do I turn to? Allah. Allah Azza wa Jal lets us know through Dua Abi Hamza Thamali. Imam Zain al-Abidin Ali ibn al-Hussein salamullah alayhi says, Alhamdulillah alladhi wakalani ilayh fa-akramani. The praise be to Allah, the one that did what? Wakalani ilayh means what? Entrusted me. Or to who? To him. That put my affairs in his hands. Why? فَأَكْرَمَنِي. Thus, he made me dignified. That I have a problem, he says, just come to me. One of the biggest problems in the Catholic Church was what? Was that people had a problem, they'd go tell who? They go in the confessional and they confess to the priest. And sometimes in the Muslims, they do this. They'll come, they've got a marital problem and they start throwing all they do. I say, hold it, stop. I don't want to hear about your lives. I'm a human being like you. You know, I'm not your secret register. I'm not someone you come and tell your secrets to. I help you where I can. But your problems, you talk to God. Allah Azza wa Jal is the one that solves this. Why? Because Allah keeps you honorable. Allah keeps you dignified. Ya Sattar al-Ayub, Allah will cover. وَكَمْ مِنْ قَبِيحٍ سَتَرْتَ. Allah will cover the ugly actions that I commit. There are sins that Allah even covers the angels' eyes that are on your shoulders that take note of what you've done. Allah covers their eyes so they do not see them. Keeps you dignified. Keeps you honorable. وَلَمْ يَكِلْنِي إِلَى النَّاسِ فَيُهِينُونِي. Allah doesn't place my affairs in the people's hands. He doesn't tell me turn to the people. Why? Because then people say, look at this guy. You know what, something, take a look at the world today. If you sit there and you say, I've got problems, I've got mental problems, they'll say he's weak. That's what the world says. Go eat a bag of cement. That's what they'll turn and say. Harden up, mate. That's the way the world is. Now, because of the cancel culture and the world we live in today, they don't help you. Instead, they make your problem worse. I was with someone today. He said that he told me that a family member in his family, a family member was a school teacher, and they had a student. And this student was someone that didn't know what their gender was. Why? Because it's obvious what they are. Their genders, you're either a boy or a girl. You know? You're not non-binary, gender fluid, or any of the 60 whatever number of genders they've come up with. You're either a boy or you're a girl. You know, it's biology. You're a male or you're a female. So what's happened here is this person had a bad mental state. So what they do, they encourage this person to do what? That this person's now gender fluid. So in the end, they decided to construct a toilet for them specifically. And I'm using the right pronoun, them. You know? Because it's not a him or a her anymore. It's a gender fluid. So what they've done, this is what ends up happening. Rather than help her initially, then she decided to go back to become a female again. And then moments later, they said that she committed suicide. Why? Because they didn't avail her. They didn't help her. When you turn towards humans, they don't give you the right advice. Why? Because they go, hold on, I'm scared to lose my job. What do I say that's politically correct that keeps everybody happy? They don't help you with your problems anymore. Now what do? Before, they used to put you down until you harden up. Now, they just let you run into your madness without assisting you. If I put my affairs in the hands of God, He'll dignify me. I can sit and complain about anything. Allah will always listen to you. Allah, you're the same person to Him from the very beginning. But with people, you're not. In fact, in a hadith Qudsi that is mentioned by the 5th or the 6th Holy Imam, They mentions Hadith Qudsi. Hadith Qudsi is a hadith an Allah Azza wa Jal. What is, when you hear the word Hadith Qudsi, what does it mean? Hadith Qudsi is the word of God that's not Qur'an. You got Qur'an and you got Hadith Qudsi. Hadith Qudsi is a hadith an Allah Azza wa Jal, but it's not Qur'an, so we call it Hadith Qudsi, a holy narration. He says, Allah Azza wa Jal, لَأَقْطَعَنَّ أَمَلَ كُلِّ مُؤَمِّلٍ غَيْرِي. I will cut off the hopes of everyone that hopes from other than me. So if I have a yearning or an expectation, I should say, a good expectation from someone other than God. You know, you've heard this saying where they say, blessed is he who expects nothing, for he shall never be disappointed. Huh? You've heard that saying before. And then they did a hybrid saying in one of the Spider-Man movies. I think they wrote, the character said, you know, if you expect nothing, it's good to expect nothing, or something like that. They give you this idea. No, you should expect what? The best. From who? From God. You should always have in a Dickensian fashion, you should have great expectations. But from Allah Azza wa Jal, your expectations should be from God. The best expectations that Allah will give me what is best. He says, لَأَقْطَعَنَّ أَمَلَ كُلِّ مُؤَمِّلٍ غَيْرِي. Anyone that hopes from other than me, I will cut their hopes off. With what? He says, بِالْيَأْسِ. I'll make them despair. Do you feel down? That's why I feel down. So I'm expecting from other than God. I will feel down. And he says, وَلَأَكْسُوَنَّهُ ثَوْبَ الْمَذَلَّةِ عَنْدَ النَّاسِ. I will, listen to this, take a look at the world today. I will make them wear the garb of humiliation. I'll dress them in the dress of humiliation before the people. I will humiliate them in front of the people. Look at the world today. What's wrong with the world? You know, I knew something was wrong with the world when I was a child. When I was a child, I knew something was wrong with the world when there was a black singer called Michael Jackson that was dying to turn white. Something's wrong with the world. Why would this man want to change the color of his skin? Because they tell him you're not going to ever be accepted. And now they want to change their gender because they're not being accepted. People want to change everything. No one's happy with their appearance. People even want to change their appearance. I was telling someone today, I said there was a time where if someone had tattoos on their face, on their neck, forget their face, on their neck, you know they were trouble. You'd walk the other side of the street. Now it's common. It's normal. People will draw on their face and it's normal. People will change so many things. And what's wrong with humanity? They do not understand how disgraced they've become because they've turned to other than God and for their problems. Then also in Hadith Qudsi, Allah says, أَيَأْمُلُ أَحَدٌ غَيْرِي فِي الشَّدَائِدِ. Does someone have hope in other than me, or expectations in other than me when they have problems? And he says, وَأَنَا الْحَيُّ الْكَرِيمُ. I am not only a living God, I'm alive, but I'm a giving God. I'm living and I give. Try me. Why do you turn to other than me? The other thing is, people turn to people expecting their problem to be solved. They ask Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, asks Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam. He says, يَرْحَمُكَ اللَّهُ مَا الصَّبْرُ الْجَمِيلُ. You know, when you're reading Surah Yusuf, على نبينا وآله وعليه أفضل الصلاة والسلام, he says in the Qur'an, he says, فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ. فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ means patience is what? Is beautiful. How beautiful is patience? The beauty of patience. Sabrun jameel Sometimes you think about it, sabr is more. It's very bitter. How can we say it's beautiful? Its beauty is in its bitterness. It's a tough pill to swallow, but once you overcome the hurdle, you realize how beautiful that patience was. You'll realize. But the question is what? He says, Yarhamukallah. He says, Mas sabru jamil. What is this sabr that's sabr jamil? فقال ذلك صبر ليس فيه شكوى إلى الناس. That is patience where you do not complain to people. Patience in a problem where you keep. How many times we have a problem, we have to tell people straight away. Oh, you should have seen what happened to me today. How many people, have a problem and they keep it within? One of these people who was a Rajuddin, he was a sheikh. He said that he had problems and he was unable to pay bills. He had all these financial problems. So he said one day, I was complaining to my father-in-law, and his father-in-law was an alim, a scholar. He said to him, I have all these problems, and he was complaining. And his father-in-law said, stop complaining. Then he said, what do I do? The father-in-law, who was a scholar, said, I'm going to tell you something I haven't told anyone in 3 years. He said, what is it? He said, 3 years ago, I stopped seeing with my right eye. I've lost sight. Not even my wife knows about this. I haven't even complained to my wife about the fact that I've lost the sight in my right eye. I've kept it to myself. I complained. Why? Imagine, I'll explain why. What happens when I complain to my wife? What if I complain to a friend? One of the things, when someone comes to tell you somebody's spoken about you, for example, there's people, the flies in society, they get those germs and they pass them around. They like to pass the germs around. Be like a bee, pass love, pollinate things. Don't sit around and pass information where you cause problems. So the people that come and tell you a problem, do you think they make you good? Do you know when someone comes up to you and says, so-and-so spoke about you? Inside you feel miserable. Why are people talking about me? Secondly, why was he privy to that discussion? He's supposed to be my friend. What was he doing there when they were talking about me? When you tell someone what your problem is, do you know what? If you tell a friend, I've got a problem, what do you do to that friend? You make them feel miserable. Why? Because they're helpless. If I come up to someone and say, listen, I want to apply for his job, can you help me with my resume or help me with the job interview or put in a good word for me? There's nothing wrong with that. But imagine you're telling someone about a problem that nothing can be done with. You're just telling them because you're just complaining. You make them feel helpless. If it's a friend, you make them feel miserable and helpless. But if you complain to a foe, you complain to someone that doesn't like you, you make them feel delighted. They get pleasure in your suffering. So when I complain to anyone, all I do is I worsen my plight. I worsen my situation. And neither of these two can avail you. One man was doing a supplication. He said, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-fitan. He said, oh Allah, I seek refuge from you. I seek refuge of you. From who? From the fitan, from the trials. Don't trial me in this world. And that's what we're here to be tried. He says, I don't want to be tried. So Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam heard him and said to the man, Araka tata'awwadhu min malika wa waladik? He said, are you asking Allah? Are you seeking refuge in Allah from your children and your wealth, or your wealth and your children? He says, Yaqulullah, innama amwalukum wa awladukum fitna. That your wealth and your children are what? A fitna. They're a trial. So you don't want no money? You don't want no children? And then he says to him, walakin qul, say, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min madallat al-fitan. Did you ask Allah instead to what? From the perversion of trial. Seek refuge in Allah from perversion of trial. that you don't fail in these trials. You don't turn away from God in these trials. That I absorb the affliction, that I handle the affliction, I do not fall apart. On the contrary, rather than complain, be grateful for your situation and the plight that you're in, that your situation is better than others. Why don't I look at when I have a problem that this is an opportunity, an opportune moment for me to develop a stronger relationship with my Creator? Because when I have a problem, that's when I turn to God. You've seen those people, when something befalls them, they become religious. Something happens to them, they turn to God. You know, some people, they've never heard the Qur'an. I swear to you, once I went to a house, this is over a decade ago. I went to a house, someone had passed away. I walked in, it was like I entered a cafe. Everyone's having discussion. You know, you had the fog of the cigarette smoke. You know, the tea was being passed around. And just, I couldn't hear any Qur'an. So I asked, like, I wasn't a mu'amman back then. I went as a afandi, as I say, as a civilian. I went in there. And then I said, can I have a Qur'an, a mushaf? This is the part that's going to rattle you. They had to actually look for it. They were looking around. Then they went and someone got it from their car. There wasn't even a Qur'an in the house. But someone had brought me with them to this Fatiha. So I read Surah Yasin. Well, after I read Surah Yasin, I closed the Qur'an. Everything just went back to normal. Some situations, even in affliction, people don't turn to God. But there are people that actually turn to God. Who are they? People like us, like me. We have an affliction, we turn to God. And I say, wow, what a beautiful moment. You know, when you're sick, a child gets sick, what do? You read the Fatiha on them 7 times. You give them Turbat Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. You read Surah Yasin. There's that moment where you remember God and you should be grateful. You know, when someone says, please do dua for me when they're sick, they give you an opportunity to supplicate. The other thing I said, the person that we usually complain about problems, not only helpless, but the other thing is they have their own problems. Do you honestly believe everyone in this room is problem free? Who's problem free? I'd love to find someone that's problem free. It's impossible. Everyone has problems. You know, the rich people, they have problems. I was once I was doing an apprenticeship about 25 years ago. And we were driving in a call truck in the car that we were going to do our work. And a hearse came past. And one of the guys I was working with, Aussie bloke, he turns around and he goes to me, that's one fellow without any problems. And I go, you're dreaming. His problems have just begun. You know, even when you're dead, you got problems. You got a trial. You got question in your account. Everyone has a problem. Everyone has a problem. Everyone has an issue to deal with. So when I tell someone that I have a problem, you think that they're the closest one to you to solve the problem. The one that has the solution to your problem, for some reason, keeps pushing you away, and that's God. He wants to see how much can you absorb. How much can you handle? Every time you move closer, he pushes you away. Why? Can you absorb? How much do you love me? How much will you work for this? Allama al-Amini, Radwanullahi ta'ala alayh, the author of Kitab al-Ghadir. Kitab al-Ghadir, we are indebted to this man for this book. This is one of the first, you know, before you had YouTube and websites like people like Dhul Fiqar al-Maghribi defending Ahl al-Bayt alayhim as-salam. You had people like Allama al-Amini, they actually did research back in the days where there was no computers, no internet, no nothing. And Kitab al-Ghadir is so thoroughly researched. It is one of the most powerful books. he used to not only find the source. Now, you can find it anywhere online. He used to actually get the book and read it from the actual text. So you had to go find the book, buy the book, and research, and then put it in his mini encyclopedia, Al-Ghadir. One night, he said that he's written this, that he said that he was looking for a book and he couldn't find it. He was living in Najaf al-Ashraf. He said, I went to the shrine of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, and he said, I sat there and I started asking Amir al-Mu'mineen. He said, oh Allah, I'm here, Haqq Ali ibn Abi Talib, help me find this book. He would ask. Every night he would turn up. He said he was there for almost 2 weeks. Every night he was persistent. He said when he was there, see how this is how God tries you. He said this Bedouin walked in. And he said, Ya Abul Hasan. He said, Ya Abul Hasan Ali ibn Abi Talib. He says, someone has stolen my cow. And I want this cow back. He goes, he said, Ya Bahsin, Ya Bahsin. He goes, أحلفك بشواربك وشوارب ربك. This is like really a derogatory way of speaking. He says to the Imam, يعني بحلفك. يعني when you say to someone, you say بحلفك, I swear by your children, for example, because they're dear to you. When you say by shwarbak, by your mustache, he said to Imam Ali, by your mustache and God's mustache. What does that mean? Mustache in the old days meant what? Your honor. Because in the old days, when they wanted to make an oath, they grabbed their mustache and they go, by this, I'm going to do this. So he said, I swear by your honor and God's honor. He's a Bedouin. That's how much as he understands. He doesn't understand more. Alama Amin, he said, I was sitting, listening to this guy. I smiled to myself in the manner that he spoke. He said, the next night I turned up, I was asking. He said, this Bedouin walked in. He said, thanks, Abu Hussein, and left. He said, I'm here every night trying to find a source for a book that I'm putting together for Islam. And this guy wants his cow. And the method that I'm speaking and the method he's speaking are different. His prayer was answered instantaneously. He said, I went home early and I went to sleep. He said, in my dream, he saw Amir al-Mu'mineen. He said, I saw the Imam and I froze. And he said, why did you leave early tonight? We were enjoying your visits. And he said, Ya Abul Hasan. He said, every night I come and ask for this hadith for you to help me find this book. And you have not answered me yet. Yet this Bedouin turns up one day and speaks in such a manner. And you do not answer, you answer him immediately. He said, the Imam said to him, هذا ليس منا. This person is not from us. If we don't give him, he'll go to other than us. He says, ولكن أنت منا. However, you are from us. If we don't give you, you will never leave us. Allah Azza wa Jal loves to hear your complaints, loves to hear your cries, loves to hear your supplications to him, not to anyone else. So he gives you this moment to establish your relationship with him, to work hard to develop a relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal, because the most tried people on this earth were who? The ones Allah loved the most. The ones that Allah held dearest to him were the ones that were tried the most in this dunya. Hajj, afwan, I don't see how long have I... Yeah. So, if you look at the story of Sayeda Zainab alayhi salam, we call her what? Al-Masa'ib, the mother of calamities, the mother of tragedies. Zainab alayha salam was born and she didn't see a good day. How? She was born in her first years. Her grandfather Rasulullah passed from this world. Zainab alayha salam was present when her mother Fatima alayha salam was attacked. Zainab alayha salam was present. You listen to all the stories, she's there when Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam was in his last days. And I was talking to someone today, and his mother passed away 2 days ago. And when I spoke to him on the phone, and I said, may Allah reward you for this moment that you're in. His voice broke as he was speaking to me. I could see the anguish and the hurt. His mother died. She's in her 50s, young woman. And it was too difficult for him. And I sat there and I thought, this is a grown man and he's at breaking point with his mother's passing. I said, how was Sayeda Zainab alayhi salam on the night where they were burying her mother in secret? When they were taking her mother in secret and they had to be silent, that she had to muffle and silence her tears, silence a moment of weeping. How did Sayeda Zainab bear this? How did Sayeda Zainab bear when Amir al-Mu'mineen was martyred? How did she bear when the body of Imam Hassan was showered with arrows? Did you know when any of the martyrs were brought in Karbala towards the tent of Imam Hussein, did you know Sayeda Zainab would come out and greet the Imam to see the martyr? If it was a nephew or family member. Did you know the only people she never came out for was who? Her sons On and Muhammad. She didn't come out. She couldn't look in the face of her brother that he's bringing her slain sons towards her. Yet after all this, when Sayeda Zainab's asked, how do you see what your Lord has done to you in this dunya? She says, Ma ra'aytu illa jamila. From my Lord I only saw beauty. This is patience in affliction. This is patience in hardship. This is someone that turns solely to God. That she did complain, but to Allah Azza wa Jal. Her shakwa is to Allah. And Allah is the one that gives the patient their full reward. بغير حساب. Without an account, they get their full reward. They're the ones that are rewarded. Your life that you live today. You have problems? Yes, everyone has problems. You are suffering? Yes, everyone's suffering. The best of God's creation suffered more than anyone else. Yet their complaint was solely to Allah Azza wa Jal. They turned to Allah Azza wa Jal, and Allah Azza wa Jal is the one that will make you overcome things. Only slightly in this world and fully and completely in the hereafter. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal in the name of Sayeda Zainab that He grants us the opportunity to visit her shrine, and He grants us her intercession on the Day of Judgment. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to hasten the reappearance of our Master الحجة بن الحسن المهدي أرواحنا فداه لأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات رحم الله من قرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة مع الصلوات على محمد وآل محمد.
صلى الله عليك السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة عليك وعلى أختك الحوراء زينب وعلى أمك الطاهرة فاطمة يا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوز فوزا عظيما. Oh skies, you bear witness to the tragedies that have befell on the Ahl al-Bayt, for the tragedies that fell on Zainab. She lost her mother Fatima, and she lost her father Ali by the strike of a sword. She lost her brother by vomiting his liver. She lost that brother by seeing his liver. But how did she see the liver of Hussein? She witnessed her brother as he laid on the stairs. She witnessed her nieces and nephews as they were whipped, and she replied to all of this, yes, I saw nothing but beauty. Dear brothers and sisters, tonight is the night, the actual night of the demise of Sayeda Zainab, salamullahi alayha. Sayeda Zainab holds a special place in the hearts of the mu'mineen, of the Muslimeen. Brothers and sisters, on this night, don't forget to raise your voices in crying. Don't forget not to be shy, for Imam al-Sadiq says, رحم الله تلك هذا الصرخة اللي كانت علينا أهل البيت. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on the screams that were for us, Ahlul Bayt. Sayeda Zainab. Yes, she witnessed the tragedies in Karbala. She witnessed also on top of this, her mother Fatima being squashed behind the door. She witnessed her father coming home with his head split, and she witnessed her brother Hussein on the lands of Karbala laying with no help. They say that after the tragedy, she would go after the massacre of Imam al-Hussein. She would stand, she would look from the hill, looking at her brother. She would say, Anta akhi, Anta ibn walidi, أأنت ابن محمد المصطفى، أأنت ابن علي المرتضى، أنت ابن فاطمة الزهراء. You can imagine she would go to the body, throw herself onto the body. What could she say? Mali ghairak, Mali ghairak, Ya Habib Umm الزكية. Mali ghairak, يلكنت خيمة حلايا. مالي غيرك، أني زينب رد حلايا. أم الخدر مهجت عليه، فوق الهزل شتفوها، حرقوا خباها يا وساف، وجيش العدا يلحقوها. ضربوها بسيات الهذوم، فوق الثرى يطيحوها، وصارت وين بين الزلم، يرضى القمر يذبونا. ولمها لو النجمة مصايبكم، لو انها ما توصل حزن زينب، لو انها ما توصل حزن زينب، لو انها بقيت محيرة زينب، بلا حسن بلا حسين وبلا عباس. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون، لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. I will start with you. In my heart is you, written on my two eyes. Madad ya Zainab, Madad ya Zainab, Madad ya Zainab, Madad ya Zainab. Brothers, stand up and make a small circle. Madad ya Zainab, Madad ya Zainab, Madad ya Zainab, Madad ya Zainab. I will start with you. In my heart is you, written on my two eyes. Madad ya Zainab, Madad ya Zainab, Madad ya Zainab, Madad ya Zainab. توجر نار قلبي وناشد وين دربي وانا بعيوني تربي من هو اللي ياخذ بيديا من هو اللي ياخذ بيديا. سألت الناس كلها جواب بكل مثلها عوائل عن أهلها عقيلة هاشمية عقيلة هاشمي لهيبة فنادي أدور بادي دموعي تنادي. مدد يا زينب مدد يا زينب مدد يا زينب مدد Zainab. Your name is etched in me, your name is etched in me. So if your foes kill me, my blood will say as it falls. Ya Haydar and Ya Zahra, Ya Haydar and Ya Zahra. I know I'm not deserving to call myself your servant. I'm the servant of your servants, of Haydara and Zahra, of Haydara and Zahra. My heart is your fault, my heart is your fault, and I've closed the door. They can burn this door. Madad ya Zainab, Madad ya Zainab, Madad ya Zainab, Madad ya Zainab. دخيل الله ودخيلك دخيل الله ودخيلك حرس والله كفيلك عرفت من يعتلينك أبد ما تخيبيها أبد تخيبيها. أنا يسموني خادم عقيلة آل هاشم وبذلوح الزهرة فاتم. دليل تجبرينا دليل تجبري دخيلك أنا يا بنت مولانا فرج عنوانا. مدد يا زينب مدد يا زينب. يا الله 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 يا Allah. We ask you on this night, accept our du'as. Heal all those in need. We would like to pray 5 times آية أما يجيب. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعا ويكشف السوء. 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 اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. الأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات for all the مرحومين مرحومات. If we can recite specifically for Brother Fadl Rahal, if we can recite a Fatiha, but before it aloud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.